Nice presentation there, Robert. Our next speaker is also another professor, a different kind of professor from the business school, actually. Sanjay Goyal is an associate professor in the School of Business, but his expertise is really in computer science, right? He's also director of research at the New York State Center for Information Forensics and Assurance at the university. He has worked at General Electric Global Research on engineering optimization, primarily related to aircraft engine and power turbines. His research group at the university is currently engaged in cybersecurity and warfare-related projects, including investigation of computer security threats such as botnets and malware, risk analysis, security policy development and evaluation, security modeling and development of self-organized complex systems. His self-organized system research includes traffic light coordination, nanobiocomputing, and security modeling. He has been selected to lead an effort launched by IEEE Communications Society and the IEEE Standards Association to create a vision for the smart grid future 15 years ahead. Sanjay?
Thanks, Pradeep. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation like the rest of my peers. I guess I'm a non-PowerPoint person here. But what I want to do is I really want to give you a brief overview of what smart grid really means to a lot of us, what we really want to do with the smart grid. A lot of people are trying to find solutions for the smart grid right now. What we're trying to do is avoid looking for solutions and try to have a vision 15 years, 20 years from now, so that we can look at some radical solutions. I think if you look at the fundamental basis of why we are trying to create a smart grid, it's basically more reliable power, a more robust system, and to add some new functionality. Most people think of the smart grid, the only thing they start thinking of is the smart meters. The smart grid is way beyond the smart meters. Smart meters is a very small part of the smart grid. And you really need to look at the needs of the smart grid as we go forward. For instance, one of the things that we're looking for in the smart grid is that not only are you allowed to draw power from the grid, but you're also allowed to supply power back to the grid. Now imagine a scenario, right? You have a solar panel on top of your house. The whole day you're not using it. What happens to the surplus power? Right now it will just be wasted or heat some water which you may or may not need. But what can happen with the smart grid? You could be selling it back to the utility at the market rates, or whatever rates the utility gives you. You come home in the evening, right? You get on your bike to exercise. Tomorrow you could be pedaling away and exercising and actually generating power for the grid. All these scenarios are possible, which you didn't even think of. That's what the smart grid does for you. The second, but a more important point, which a lot of you miss out in the smart grid, is the brittleness of the grid. We are reaching the thermodynamic limits of the grid today, and that's why you see a lot of brittleness. The reason why we had the big failure in the Northeast, the big blackout, was because everything was running at capacity. Over time, we created the grid, and we have added consumption, generated more power, and the grid is at its capacity. So we need to account for that. And if you look at the power as a commodity, that's the only commodity which I know of where the supply and demand has to match exactly. If the demand is X amount, the suppliers have to change. There is no storage. The storage is too expensive and too ephemeral to really even matter in this whole equation. So the second goal of the smart grid is to be able to better manage the demand. Right now, the only thing that we can manage is the supply. What the smart grid will do is will also allow you to manage the demand. Now, how do they do that? By using a demand response. So you will be able to talk to the utility, and they will allow them to preferentially shut off certain appliances in your home when the peak loads are higher. For instance, in the evening, when the electricity pricing is at the peak and the demand is at the peak, when you all go home, it could shut off certain appliances based on a prior commitment you have with the utility, and that way you can basically run your water heater at night when the power is cheaper. So these are the kind of things which are going to be allowed through the smart grid, which means the utility will have control of appliances in your home. That's the second thing. The third most important thing that you need to think of if you think 15 years from now, the goal of the Obama administration and the governments around the world is to increase the component of non-renewable energy sources. Well, that's all well and good, but what are the problems for the grid? The non-renewable energy sources are very unpredictable. Well, you have a huge solar farm sitting in Coxsackie, New York. What happens? No sun today, it's cloudy, suddenly the power goes down to half. You have a huge wind farm in the Midwest. There is no wind, there is no power. What happens to the grid stability and to the grid dynamics? The grid dynamics suddenly gets a big shock because you don't have the power that you're expecting. So these are the kind of things that need to be managed in the smart grid. So how are we trying to manage this? What we're trying to do is we are trying to leverage communication and information technology, which we are superimposing on top of the current electric grid, to be able to inform the grid, to be able to communicate across from station to station, from consumers to suppliers, to be able to create the balance through information exchange. But at the same time, we are creating this huge information network which will rival the internet. And how many of you use the internet? How many of you find it secure? Are we, in effect, creating another internet, a huge internet, which is equally insecure? That's something that we need to understand today. The roots of insecurity of the internet were not created in the last 5, 10, 15 years. The roots of the insecurity of the internet were created in its conception. So the security today is really a patchwork. Every time we find a fault, we patch it, we patch it, we patch it. So we have a patchwork of security which doesn't work. We keep finding more and more holes in the security. So we need to really think through security problem more holistically. We need to think through the whole smart grid more holistically. If I look at all of the spending that's going on in the different smart grid projects, it's basically instantaneous. We are doing this, we are doing that, everything needs to work in 5 years. But we don't even know what the real problems are. We really don't know what the solutions are. People are spending a lot of money doing a lot of different things. And yes, some of those things will work. It's like, just slapping things on the wall and something will stick. But in the long run, we need a deeper vision as to what's going to happen, how the security is going to be managed, and that's something we all need to get engaged in. We had a huge discussion about privacy earlier. What happens? One of the things which the utility needs is information about your consumption. A lot of the appliances that you have will transmit back information about your consumption. Even if the dumb appliances you have, they have an energy footprint which people will be able to decipher to figure out what you're using. So the issue becomes privacy, right? The privacy is only at the smart meter, right at the smart meter. Once it goes into the network, it gets aggregated. So when you think of security, you need to look at two different components. One is the edges of the network, that's where your smart meters are. And the second is the core of the network, where information is being aggregated and collected and sent back to the utilities. Now what can happen with that? Somebody could be sitting there poisoning all that information. You poison the information that is aggregated and which it goes to the utility, what happens? Suddenly their demand response fails because they are basing the demand response based on the information that is coming. If somebody were to poison it, it fails again. So I think these are some of the issues that need to be addressed in security. We need to address the privacy issues, we need to address the resilience issues, we need to address data poisoning issues, and that's the roadmap that we're trying to create, is to find out where the issues are, what problems need to be solved, and where investments need to go. That's something that we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. If I can get you guys to come up here. No order, wherever you want. So, I'd like you to speak into the mic. Is this working or not working? The battery's down on this one. I think the battery's down on this one. Is that on?
Check.
So we'll speak into the mic because we're also recording this, and it comes out much better if we speak into the mic. We can start off with any questions that the audience has. I know I have a bunch of questions. I can see that there's quite a few here. Steve.
Do mic or no mic? Do I need a mic?
You don't need a mic. We can hear you.
Yeah. Are there any other countries, entities, or organizations, governments outside of the U.S. that are implementing a similar infrastructure as a smart grid, and are they dealing with the same issues that you're faced with here as we try to put together this infrastructure to support with security?
I think the governments all around the world are thinking about it, but some of the main players in the smart grid market are first the European Union, the US, and China.
Yeah.
And they're all facing similar issues. There's a lot of coordination between the European Union and the US. But China is doing a lot of things internally, and not a lot of things are coming out of there. So they are thinking of the same thing. They probably have as much investment as the US and the European Union. But it's very hard to figure out what they're trying to do. They're probably trying to